What's going on, guys? Today I'm back with another H.A.T format replay review for you guys. If you're interested in sending in your H.A.T format replays, you can go down to the video description and find all the information on how to go about doing that. But anyways, the match I have for you today, we have the alt with no name, who is going to be playing Final Countdown versus Birdman Omega, who is going to play kind of like a cool teched out Raccoon pile deck. So really exciting to show this off. This Raccoon deck I heard is pretty cool, and also I haven't shown off Final Countdown on this channel, and I think that's kind of interesting. So let's actually see how this one plays out. Here it looks like Alt with No Name is going to start this one out. Opening hands, we do see the Final Countdown that I believe in H.A.T format is at 1. Lava Golem, Hope for Escape, Waboku, and Frozen Soul. And on the other side, we see Obedience School, Beast King Barbaros, Upstart, Pot of Duality, and Solar Recharge. Something that you probably don't really see in Raccoons, but it'll make sense as this game goes on. Real quickly, though, I am going to go over Hope for Escape and Frozen Soul, and I guess Final Countdown 2, in case you guys haven't seen these before. Frozen Soul says you can only activate this card when your life points are at least 2,000 lower than your opponent's. Skip your opponent's battle phase. Hope for Escape says if your opponent's life points is at least 1,000 higher than yours, pay 1,000 life points and draw one card for every 2,000 life point difference between your life points and your opponent's. And then obviously the main win con is Final Countdown, and that says pay 2,000 life points after 20 turns have passed after you activate this card, counting the turn you activate this card as turn 1, or the first turn, you win the duel. And keep in mind, turns, the way it works is your turn 1, your opponent is turn 2, back to you is turn 3. It's not like 20 of your turns. But anyways, let's get straight into this. Alt will draw for turn, or I guess they forgot to draw for turn. Hopefully they catch that. Okay, they do. They draw the Swift Scarecrow here. Almost forgot that. You know, I'm not surprised with how often you do see people forgetting to draw, especially, you know, given that it's no longer a thing where you get to draw for turn. But in general, here we are activating the Final Countdown, though, and just passing. That is a risky play. I mean, I guess they do have the Swift Scarecrow, but choosing not to even set any back row. Swift Scarecrow, there are ways to make this card actually miss. You know, Dragon Ruler format kind of showed us there are ways to make Swift Scarecrow miss timing and stuff like that, or however you want to go about wording that. But anyways, here Upstart Goblin is drawn for turn. They're going to activate double to draw 2, getting Raiden and Terraforming, activating Terraforming to get a Closed Forest. This card says all beast type monsters you control gain 100 attack for each monster in your graveyard. Field spell cards cannot be activated. Field spell cards cannot be activated, and then field spell cards cannot be activated the turn this card is destroyed. So this has really cool interactions with the Raccoon Xyz that we'll probably see as this duel goes on. But anyways, here they're going to go Solar Recharge, ditching the Raiden, drawing a Barbaros and a Trade-in, and sending a Rinyan Lightsworn Rogue. This card says flip, target one Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, shuffle that target into the deck and draw a card. It's a beast, so that's kind of one of the synergies, as well as, you know, being able to use this as one of the Solar Recharge targets to kind of mill through your deck pretty fast. And then the other mill is obviously the Obedience School here. Next, they're going to go Trade-in, drawing another Solar Recharge and a Rinyan. Next, they're going to Solar Recharge, discarding the Rinyan, drawing a Elephant and another Trade-in, and sending a Malefic Stardust Dragon and a Charge of the Light Brigade. Here, let's see what they do. They're going to go Obedience School to special summon Raiko, Rinyan, and a Cerebral. Next, they're going to normal summon the Beast King Barbaros without tributing, so it ends up having a little less attack, but they're doing that simply so that they are able to use it as a synchro to go for a Leo. From here, they're going to activate Closed Forest, which, again, it makes so all beast-type monsters you control gain 100 attack for each monster in your graveyard. So really good, making Leo even bigger, which is already a hard card to out. Obviously, it's probably not going to matter in this matchup. And then they are going to Xyz summon into a copy of Ronin Raccoon Sendayu, which is going to detach a material to summon a token with attack equal to the highest attack of the monster on board, or the monster with the highest attack. So obviously it's going to be a 3,400, but then it's also going to gain the attack boost after that. So it's even larger here, and they're just adjusting attacks because, you know, obviously now there's different amounts of monsters in the graveyard. Going to battle phase, and Swift Scarecrow is going to be activated. Here they are going to pass turn, and Thunder of Ruler is drawn that says during your standby phase, you can activate this card. There's no battle phase this turn. So basically it's just a way to skip your opponent's main phase 2. Because if there's no battle phase, there can be no main phase 2, so they have to do everything in main phase 1. Next, it looks like Lava Golem is going to be summoned, getting rid of the Ronin Raccoon and the, was that just the token? And next, it looks like they're just setting Waboku, so playing very, very slow here. And it looks like Birdman Omega drew a Lance for turn. The Lava Golem's going to inflict some damage. Next, they're going to Synchro Summon for another copy of Leo and go to battle phase. But, oh, it looks like they're actually going to take one of them. Alt is choosing to do that probably because of the hope for escape and stuff and needing to have lower life points. But then they are going to use the Waboku on the second one here, so not taking the other 38. And then main phase 2, they're setting the Forbidden Lance, and back over to Alt, who's going to go and draw a Duality, use it. And here they're going to take the Dark Hole, putting back Thunder Ruler and Card D. Activating Dark Hole, Lance is going to be able to be activated. The cool thing with Leo is it says your opponent can't target this card with card effects, except during the main phase 2, but the player of the Leo can target it, so the Lance is able to target and protect one of the Leos here. After that, it looks like Alt is going to set 3 and back over to Birdman, who's going to draw a copy of Raikou. In the standby phase, Thunder of Rulers activated, Duality is activated, and they're going to add a copy of Lance here, putting back Obedient School and Max C. And from here, they're just going to set the Raikou, set the Lance. Here, Alt gets a copy of Threatening Roar. They're going to activate Hope for Escape, which is going to draw them just one card. They were at, yeah, the difference, oh, okay, so there's not like a 4,000 difference because of that extra 200, so only the one draw there, but they do get a copy of Upstart, which they can activate, and getting a card D is very strong, and they have the Threatening Roar, but choosing not to set it, I guess they have the Frozen Soul, so it's kind of pointless to double set these and risk losing like some of your cards that will be able to get you more turns. Here, Card is going to get Waboku and Lava Golem, and over to Birdman, who gets a copy of Duality. They're going to flip Raikou to pop the back row. Frozen Soul is chained. Here, milling 3 off the Raikou. Next, Duality is activated, revealing Soul Charge, what was that, Pompoko, and Malefic Stardust. And here they just pass turn because the Frozen Soul isn't going to allow them to go to battle phase. Alt gets a copy of Swift Scarecrow, so just more ways to stall out. I'm not entirely sure what turn they are on at the moment. They sort of stopped counting and stuff, so I don't entirely know. I'm going to assume that they kept track somewhere in all of this. But anyways, here Birdman gets a copy of Max C. They go trade in, getting rid of the Malefic, getting another trade in and a Soul Charge. And here they go to battle phase. And Alt's going to take this damage. Is this going to be it? No, Waboku is activated. Yeah, this affects player, I'm pretty sure. So the Lance isn't going to do anything. Here, Alt draws a copy of Hope for Escape. Again, I'm not sure what turn they're on. They're setting 2. Here, Birdman summons a copy of Raikou, overlays for another Sendayu, uses the effect, goes for a Leo. These are getting real big if you look at these. This is crazy. Against any regular deck, this would be insane, especially like the double Leo play and stuff. But anyways, Threatening Roar is going to be activated there, so back to Alt, who gets another Threatening Roar. Back to Birdman, who's going to detach to get another just giant token here. And another Threatening Roar comes down. 1 day a piece is drawn. Really good. Alt gets a Card D, and Birdman gets another Closed Forest. Next, they summon Card D, activate it, getting Rainbow Karibo and Thunder of Ruler. Birdman gets a Obedience School. And oh, here's the update. This is turn 16. Crazy to think that this game's going on like this, and it's just one of those decks that can be really annoying to play against. But here they set the Obedience School, activate Soul Charge, Hope for Escape is chained, and the difference is very big here. So yeah, getting 3 draws, getting a Rainbow Kuriboh, Duality, and Reckless Greed. And it looks like Cerebral is drawn, or summoned off of the Soul Charge, my bad. Big synchro for, well, you'd assume a big synchro, but no, just getting rid of the 2 level 1 tokens and the Cerebral for a copy of Unicore. And here, Alt draws a copy of Upstart. They're going to go Lava Golem, getting rid of the Leo and Unicore. Upstart, getting a Thunder Ruler, setting some back row. Over to Birdman, who's going to take 1,000 off of the Lava Golem, and they had drawn Soul Charge. Thunder of Rulers activated. And activating Soul Charge was this. This is turn 18. Do I lose at the start of turn 20 or end? End. How does this work? Oh, after 20 turns have passed. I always thought that this was like the beginning of it, but maybe, I don't know, maybe they're referring to like turn 19 when they pass, or I'm not entirely sure how that's going on, but regardless, it's not looking great here. They're soul charging for 3, bringing back Unicore, Cerebral, and Barbaros, overlaying the Barbaros, and the Lava Golem for a copy of Hieratic Sun Dragon. And here they're going to use the effect to get rid of the Reckless Greed, which will be chained to draw Gold Sark and Card D. Next, normal summon Max C and make a Synchro for a Stardust, and Birdman just scoops it up. Alt takes that one. Kind of a crazy game. I know it was a lot going on, even though not a lot was going on, if that makes sense. But really cool, you know, again, opening the copy of Final Countdown is like the key thing, because if you don't see that right away, you're just kind of stalling out with no win condition. So that is something very important to keep in mind. But anyways, we will get to see Birdman Omega start this one out. And depending on if they're on like Nat Beast and Barkion, that could be a very big factor in this sort of matchup. But opening hands, we see Waboku, Battle Fader, Hope for Escape, Duality, and Grand Mole. And on the other side, we see Forbidden Lance, Closed Force, Obedience School, Beast King, Barbaros, and Elephant. Always crazy when like a deck opens Obedience School. It's like that card is just so powerful. So let's see what happens. Here, oh, they're just having a bit of a conversation. Birdman draws another Obedience School. So, you know, I was saying that it's already impressive drawing one. Seeing a second is equally as good, especially if one is negated. Obviously, that's not the case on turn 1. But anyways, let's see what happens. Here, they're going to activate Obedience School, bringing out the Rinyan. I keep forgetting that card's name. Raikou and Cerebral. From here, they're going to normal summon Barbaros, kind of the same thing they did last time. And overlay, activating the Closed Forest again. So yeah, basically the same thing they did last turn, even with the Lance and stuff. Here, Alt draws a copy of Medion the Time Lord. I always like this card. It looks really good in Secret Rare. Anyways, this card says cannot be special summoned from the deck. If you control no monsters, you can normal summon this card without tributing. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. You take no battle damage from attacks involving this card, this attack position card. At the end of the at the end of the battle phase, my bad, if this card battled, return as many monsters on the field as possible to the hand other than this card, and if you do, inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each card returned. Once per turn, during your standby phase, shuffle this card into the deck. So, pretty wild card. They're going to activate Duality and take Reckless Greed, putting back Swift Scarecrow and Battle Fader. And from here, they're going to summon the Medion. They say it's good. Attack into the Sendayu. And does this... Yeah, that's at the end of the battle phase. If this card battled, return as many. So, yep, they're just going to shuffle everything back. Here, Birdman draws a copy of Trade-In. Also seeing that Alt didn't set any sort of back row, which I guess it doesn't really matter here because this card is sort of a wall in a sense, and even if they clear this somehow, the Battle Fader is there, so that makes sense. Oh, second Obedience School comes down. summoning the Ponpoko Kitten and another Ranyan. Then normal summon Elephant, synchro summon, oh, or maybe not. Yeah, Obedience School does lock you into Beast, and so on the side here, what they were going to go for is probably like Stardust or something. So I think they just realized that, so they're just redoing that. They're going to think of what else to go into here. They're going to go for a Sendayu, and then they're, oh, double Sendayu. That's always a strong play. It is kind of a lock, you know, since while you control a beast, they won't be able to be destroyed by battle or card effects, and they kind of protect each other, or while you control another, I should say. And here they're just readjusting the stats, lots of things you have to keep track of. Here they then pass, Alt draws a card D, the Meteon shuffles itself back, normal summon Grand Mole, attack, and obviously Grand Mole has the ability at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can return both the opponent's monster and this card to the hand. So it's kind of a funny and good way to actually out the Sendayu lock here. I think they're just debating. They forgot about which game, what happened. But yeah, they're going to bounce here, set 1 over to Birdman, who gets a copy of Raikou. Again, readjusting stats, using the Sendayu. And let's see. Just some adjusting, switching everything to attack, going battle phase. Here, Alt is going to take some damage, obviously trying to get the Hope for Escape on live here. And let's see. Oh, going for the game shot, but here Fader is activated. Again, just another card that has, it's a bit risky because there are ways to play around this. Also, in certain matchups, people don't like Battle Fader because things like Gaia Dragon exists that can do piercing damage, but obviously we're not seeing that here, so I'll just move on with that. Here, Alt gets a copy of Threatening Roar for turn, goes card car, uses the effect, draws a Hope for Escape and a Fader, back over to Birdman, who gets a charge, activating it. Not really hitting anything there, but getting to add a Raiden. Next, they're going to flip Raikou, pop the Waboku. Waboku's chained, milling 3. Back over to Alt, who gets a copy of Threatening Roar, sets it, and here Birdman gets a copy of Soul Charge. Threatening Roar is activated right away. Meteon is drawn for turn. Again, let me just make sure that if you control no monsters, you can normal summon this card without tributing. So keep that in mind, that they shouldn't be able to normal summon this here. Hopefully they catch that. They go battle phase. They aren't catching it. Wow. Let me just, cannot be special summon. If you control no monsters, you can normal summon this card without tributing. Okay, that is a big misplay there. I mean, I guess things were an attack so they could try to crash, but everything was very large. That's actually a very big thing to, you know, make a mistake on there. Here they just set 1 and they're going to soul charge for 5. So yeah, really unfortunate with that Meteon there. That, you know, could be a bit of a game changer. Not that it really would have mattered, I think, because of what they already had in this exact situation. But in general, that is something you have to keep in mind. Birdman is actually getting really low on damage, or on life, I should say. So like if Alt finds something like a lava golem, that might just be able to end the game. So that's a scary situation for Birdman to actually put themselves in here. But they are going to synchro summon for a Barkion. Okay, so there's the Barkion. I said that could be a very big problem. And going for Unicorn is also huge, setting the Raikou. So now, you know, cards are going to be a little even there. Here, Alt gets a copy of Upstart. Meteon is going to shuffle itself back in the standby phase, even though, again, it shouldn't have probably been there. They are going to normal summon the Grand Mole, attack into the Barkion, bouncing both back. Here, Birdman gets a copy of Debunk, goes battle phase, swings over the Fader, that gets banished because it was summoned off of its effect. Here, Alt gets Hope for Escape, normal summons the Grand Mole, goes battle phase, and bounces back again. You see why this card was like annoying, and it was what? I think limited at one point. I think even in H.A.T format, it was still limited. Don't quote me on that, but I believe so. Anyways, here, Birdman gets a copy of Max C and sets 1. And here, Alt gets a copy of Frozen Soul, activates Upstart, gets another Upstart, next Upstart into a Swift Scarecrow. We still haven't seen Final Countdown, so this might just go to a deck out at this point, given, you know, there's only 14 cards left and there's lots of stall. At this point, you know, even if they get to Final Countdown, they don't have a lot of turns left in them. Summon Grand Mole, attack, bounce stuff back. And they're discarding for hand size, not even choosing to set anything. Okay, Birdman gets a copy of Upstart, sets Max C, Overdue Alt, who gets another Reckless Greed, summons the Grand Mole, attacks in, uses the Grand Mole, so just kind of playing the same game of, putting him on better have it. Discarding for hand size again, choosing not to set anything. Here, Birdman gets a Solar Recharge, setting. Meteon is summoned. This time they can summon it here. They're going to use the ability here and shuffle everything back. Or not shuffle everything back. Return as many monsters as possible to the hand other than itself. My bad. Here, just setting some stuff. Standby special or spins itself back. Summon the Grand Mole. Bounce back. This applies before damage step, so it shouldn't flip here actually. Oh, and they actually set it on the side there. Nice, good catch. Setting a back row back over to Birdman, who is going to special summon the Malefic Stardust, but Threatening Roar is activated. Setting 1, Dark Hole is activated. Lance is chained. Setting another back row, setting more back row, summoning Card D, using its ability, drawing into Median and Gold Sark. A little late on the Gold Sark here, probably. Birdman is going to draw into Irinian, go Battle Phase. Battle Fader is activated. Main Phase 2, set 1. Over to Alt, who's going to draw, was at the 3rd Reckless Greed at this point, I believe. Activating Gold Sark, banishing 1 day apiece, setting 1, summon Grand Mole, attack in, use the effect, bounce back. It's crazy what one Fiendish Chain or Breakthrough skill would have done to this Grand Mole at this point. But anyways, Birdman's going to get a copy of Lance, Battle Phase, attack, set more cards. Meteon is summoned again, attack, ability, bounce everything, do some damage. Debunk is drawn, set it, respecial the Stardust by banishing another Stardust. So they are on multiple of that. And back over to Alt, who gets a Swift Scarecrow. Meteon shuffles back. 1 day apiece. Has it already been 2 turns? That felt really quick. Summon Grand Mole, attack in, use the ability. We've seen this before. And let's just see what happens. The fact they're playing it out is very impressive. Here, going Soul Charge for 1, down to 400 life. So even something like a Meteon could actually just kill them with the burn damage. Summon the Rinian, Synchro for Unicore again, activate Upstart, draw into Max C, Solar Recharge. Oh, I think maybe they just know it's over and they're just trying to turbo through it. Reckless Greed, Reckless Greed. There's the final countdown. I don't think it's going to come up though. And yeah, so Alt with no name takes that one. Kind of cool, honestly, to see that, they won with 2 different forms of win condition. The first obviously being the final countdown, and then the second being by deck out. So that's kind of fun, but wow, is that kind of a rough matchup. Honestly, I probably would have left after a while of sitting through this. I wonder if I can see actually in the log how long this match was. Wow, surprisingly only 44 minutes compared to the average game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays goes on a lot longer than that. But anyways, I'm done with this match. It was cool to see, but yeah, like I said, it is something to watch and sit through, let alone I could imagine playing through this. And I have played against it at locals a long time ago. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it. Comment any questions or videos you want to see in the future. Share this video with your friends. I already said subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. And make sure to check out the video description to find out how you can send in your hat format replays. But anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video.